If you're looking for a fully electric 7-seater, here's one option in Malaysia, and this is the Volvo EX90, the flagship model from Volvo Car Malaysia. Priced at 442,888 ringgit, this is quite expensive. In fact, it costs more than other fully electric premium MPVs in the market like the Denza D9, the Zeekr 009, as well as the Xpeng X9. So the question is this fully electric 7-seater SUV any good? Recently, I've driven this car from KL to Penang and then to Kota Bharu and back, and here are my findings. Continue watching to find out more. The EX90 is essentially Volvo's electric answer to the popular XC90. But make no mistake, Volvo didn't just take the XC90 and just dump the engine and replace it with motors and battery, because the EX90 is built on an EV dedicated platform, the SPA2, which shares the same platform as the Polestar 3 as well as the Volvo EX90 sedan. In Malaysia, it only comes in a single variant, and that's the range-topping Ultra Twin performance. Dual motors with all-wheel drive setup with all the bells and whistles. From the photos and also from the initial appearance, you might think that this XC90 is smaller than the XC90. Make no mistake, this car is actually bigger than the XC90. It's more than 5 meters long, about 2 meters in width, and has a wheelbase of 2,950 millimeters. And for those who don't know, this is the signature look for Volvo's fully electric vehicles. And if you look at the design, this is essentially the bigger brother of the EX30. You have this clean front design with no grille. You got the traditional Volvo branding over here, and also the very cool looking tow hammer headlights. And you look at these horizontal DRLs, this actually opens up to reveal the headlights, and it looks super cool at night. I would say that this is the coolest headlight design since the demise of the pop-up headlights. Just don't ask how much it costs to replace if anything goes wrong with it. In case you're wondering what this is not the taxi sign. This is actually LiDAR, and it's the first time Volvo has implemented on its EVs. But right now in Malaysia, well, there's no active function just yet. According to Volvo Car Malaysia, right now they're using LiDAR to just study the road conditions in Malaysia, and eventually this will be enabled for future full self-driving features. It will come in a software update eventually, but we don't know when's the exact timelines just yet. But be warned, as seen online, there are a couple of examples whereby some people have their smartphones permanently damaged because the lasers that's coming out from this LiDAR module can actually fry the image sensors in your smartphone. So take note of that. Over the rear, you get these C-shaped taillights with these extra vertical slants, which is quite similar to the Volvo EX30. I think this is going to be a signature design for Volvo's fully electric SUV. Over here, you get this very wide space with this Volvo lettering, and you can see here is Volvo EX90 Twin Performance, and that means that this is the all-wheel drive version. So this is a twin motor setup that produces 380 kilowatts or 509 horsepower and up to 910 Newton meters of torque. It can do 0 to 100 in just 4.9 seconds, up to a top speed of 180 km per hour, because that's the speed limit that's set by Volvo for all its cars. The EX90 Ultra Twin Performance has air suspension, but there's no active rear steering. It rides on 21-inch wheels wrapped with Michelin Pilot Sport EV tires, and the rear tires are actually bigger because the rear gets 295/40 R21, while the front rides on 265/45 R21. And one reason why this EX90 isn't as efficient as the rest is because of its drag coefficient rating. It's not as aerodynamic as the rest because it has a drag coefficient rating of 0.29 CD. As a comparison, the Kia EV9 has a lower drag coefficient of 0.28 CD, and the Zeekr 009, that boxy looking fridge, has a lower drag coefficient of 0.27 CD. When we did that trip with 4 people from KL to Kota Bharu, we did an efficiency of 20.5 kWh per 100 km. So you can see how much more efficient that MPV is because of the lower drag coefficient rating. The EX90 comes with these traditional looking handles that actually pop up as you approach the vehicle. And the EX90 also comes with soft closing doors. Stepping inside the EX90, you notice that you have a very minimalistic interior. For those who are familiar with the XC90, might find that this could be a bit boring, it's a bit plain, but I would say that, you know, it's unique. I mean, it has a very clean look. You have a good contrast of materials. You have these soft touch materials on top, and you get this wooden finish on the dash, on the door panels, and also in the center area. And here's the interesting thing. There's actually hidden illumination underneath this wood panel. And at night, you can see it individual diamond-shaped lights light up the entire cabin, which looks pretty cool. You also get a large portrait-style tablet over here. It's 14.5 inches with Google built-in. You also have this skinny letterbox-style 9-inch instrument cluster and also a head-up display. These two features were not available on the EX30, but you get it here on the flagship EX90, which is to be expected. You also get a round steering wheel, not flat bottom, and you also have these capacitive buttons on the steering wheel. But there's one downgrade though. These buttons are not illuminated. So at night, you need to figure out what this button does. But the good thing is that when you put your finger on each of the buttons, you actually show icons on the instrument cluster to let you know what buttons is it. And to confirm, just press on the button, whether is it to adjust speed for cruise control or to control your media controls. But come on man, this is a flagship product. Why not give backlit buttons over here? You can do it on the cheapest product, ES30. Why not on the more expensive product, ES90? It doesn't make sense. And you can see that Volvo is trying to copy Tesla by putting everything, all the controls on the central display area. For example, if you want to adjust the side mirrors, you adjust the steering, you need to go into the car settings, go to controls, and driver adjustments, and then touch the screen over here, and then control it using buttons on the steering wheel. Why? But at least Volvo has still maintained the stocks for the seat indicator, the gear selector, and you also have physical controls for the aircon vents. You don't have that crystal gear selector knob that you see on the XC90, but you do get this rotary dial over here, and that's just for media controls. It's just to pause and play, adjust volume, and to skip the track forward or backward, and that's pretty much it. And it feels quite plasticky. I wish this made out of crystal, similar to the BMW i5 and i7s. And in terms of storage, well, you get a wireless charging pad over here, you have two cup holders, and a central storage bin that has two levels. But honestly speaking, for a car this size, the storage is actually quite limited. I mean, there's so much space that can be utilized over here to put more smaller items like extra phones, keys. Yeah, if you look at this down here, it looks like it's a wireless charger for two, right? But no, you only get one wireless charger over here. But over here, you have this gutter thing to put your phone in place. But honestly, nobody's going to use that because you want to put your phone, you just want to lie straight down here. Who has time to do this while driving, right? And not to forget the glove box. So similar to Tesla, you need to use the touchscreen to open the glove box. And it's tiny. You can't even fit an iPad in here. I've seen other EVs, they can even fit a whole laptop inside the glove box, but on this one, yeah, that's the amount of space you have. Besides the lack of a backlit button for the steering wheel, there are other cost-cutting measures by Volvo which I find it quite unacceptable in a car that costs more than 400,000 ringgit. For instance, the power window controls on the driver's side. You only have two switches for left and right, and that's pretty much it. Even to adjust the rear, you need to press another button to adjust the two other windows. Why not put 4 buttons? Why not put 4 switches? This is a flagship product. You should make things easier. Why are you making me do this? This is a 400,000 ringgit car. But at the very least, is at least you have this physical lever to open the door. I think this is much better than the powered operated buttons to open the door. So I think kudos to that. But come on Volvo, give us 4 dedicated buttons. And there's also no grab handles at all. None. No grab handles for the EX90, which is going to be a challenge if you're going to enter the third row seats, as I'm going to demonstrate later on. You also get a massive glass roof, which looks very glorious. It's a panoramic glass roof, but it can't open. There's some heat rejection layer, which I think does a pretty good job, but come on, at least give us some sunshade. Moving to the back, well, it's actually quite spacious in here. You get a flat floor. You also have aircon vents. You have aircon vents on the B pillar as well as the middle section over here, so no problems at all. You also have controls for the aircon, like temperature, fan speed, for both sides. The seats for the second row are manually operated for slide, but at least they're individually adjustable. 40, 20, 40, and similar to the XC90, you also get this baby booster seat for small kids, so they can sit upright. Look at the bucket down here. It says, since 1959. For those who don't know, Volvo invented the seatbelt, which now becomes a standard safety feature across all cars around the world. And they're going to reinvent the seatbelt again with the upcoming EX90 that's going to be launched next year. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. There's no extra storage bins over here. At very least, for this price point, I expect maybe a fridge or maybe a pull-out drawer like the Kia EV9, but I don't get it here on the EX90. I wish Volvo has put more thought into more storage compartments over here. And to get to the third row seats, well, the mechanism is actually quite simple. With just one hand, you can just pull the lever over here and pull all the way to the front. And that's it, you can get in over here. And then once you're in, you can put the seat down. Yeah, it's actually quite tight in here. I think it's more suited for kids. If you want to adjust more space, you can. You need to ask the second row passenger to slide the seat forward. I would say this is only good for short distance trip. For long distance, it doesn't cut it. In fact, I feel that the rear seats of the BYD M6 is actually more comfortable than this. And you can adjust the recline of this rear seat for the third row. But at the very least, at least you have a conveyance and a USB-C port down here. And that's pretty much it. It's not really a spacious place in the third row. Good for kids and maybe short trips for adults. And to go out, there's push a lever and push the seat right to the front. And I noticed this. There's just loose items over here. I think long term this is gonna get broken very easily. And it's quite sharp too. So yeah. And you can see the problem here. There are no grab handles. So getting out is not as elegant as you wish you'd be. So yeah, that's one thing that's lacking. Because I know that there's grab handles on XC90, but they didn't include it here. I wonder why. While the second row seats are manually operated, the third row is actually powered. So if you want to fold the seats down to make up more space, you can just press the button over here. That's on the right, press this. It will fold down the headrest and fold straight down. And you can do the same thing as well from the boot. The Volvo EX90 comes with a 324 liters of boot space. So that's how much space you get with all rows up. And if you want more storage, you can expand it further to 697 liters by folding the third row seats down like this. And that's inclusive of a very generous underfloor storage, because you can see down here. And there's also a place for you to keep the tonneau cover. And despite being EV, unfortunately, Volvo doesn't provide vehicle to load. So there's no 3-pin outlet and there's no adapter for you to convert the EV into a giant power bank to power your home appliances. And that's quite a shame. Since it's air suspension, you can actually lower the boot if you want to load heavy items. Just push the button over here and it goes down immediately. Look at that. Wow, now this is very low. Ugh. If you don't mind me, I'm gonna take a nap. Oi! Open! If you're going for IKEA shopping, well, if you're wondering whether it fits, there's a Will It Fit guide to show you the available dimensions for the EX90. And the Volvo EX90 comes to the front, but it's not deep enough to put your luggage. Yes, these are 3 separate compartments, which is big enough to store your Type 2 charging cable and even your granny charger. And there's also a slot over here for the tire repair kit and also the safety triangle if you need assistance at the roadside. The seats you see right here are using sustainable materials called Nordico. So it's leather free and it's apparently made out of sustainable materials as it uses recycled PET bottles. And in case you don't know, Volvo wants to be leather free by 2030. And when you touch it, it feels like the scuba suit material, but I think it's quite alright. I think this should be quite sturdy. And the seats themselves feel pretty good and they offer a lot of adjustability. one of my favorite features is this extendable under thigh support, which is very good for people with long legs like me. And one thing interesting is that the controls are done with this simple knob. You see that? It's different from the other car makers where you have like different toggles for everything. So you just one single knob to adjust the recline and also the slide. And you want to adjust the other things, you just press the button over here. And there's actually display on the screen that shows this is for basic adjustment. You press another time to adjust the tilt and the lumbar support. And you press the third time, you even get adjustments for the side bolsters. You can adjust how tight you want it to be. You want the car to hug you more or hug you less. It's all adjusted here. And the seats are also ventilated. You can also adjust the ventilation from the on-screen menu. But there's also one more feature, massage feature. You tap the button, there's usually a pop-up window that shows the seat adjustments, and you can click on the other tab for massage. And there are a total of 5 preset programs with 3 speeds and 3 intensity levels. And you can turn it on for 20 minutes. And once it's done, you can actually restart the massage routine again by pressing the restart button on the pop-up menu on top. And I sat in this seat for more than 10 hours from Kota Bharu to KL, and I have no complaints. It's very comfortable, it's very supportive. Well done Volvo for making this seat in the EX90. The infotainment system for the EX90 has Google built in, so essentially it runs on Android Automotive, whereby you can run Google apps natively without pairing to a smartphone. So you can have access to all your favorite Google apps like YouTube, your Waze, your Chrome, your Google Maps, and you can actually download more apps from the Google Play Store. The screen is quite big, fairly responsive, not the fastest I've experienced, but it does the job pretty well. And if you use Google Maps to navigate, it will even tell you the estimated battery state of charge upon arrival and also on return. So if you're going somewhere, you will know whether or not you have enough charge to get there and come back home to plug it in to your wall box charger, which I think is pretty good. And of course, you got the aircon controls down here. You can adjust using this pop-up and still have the map in view. But in case if you don't want to be distracted by the stuff that your passenger is doing, you can actually project your map on the instrument cluster over here. And you also get the turn-by-turn instructions on the head-up display as you approach a junction or intersection. But mind you that this only works with Google Maps from the built-in Google Maps app. It doesn't work with Waze or Apple CarPlay. And yes, it supports wireless Apple CarPlay if you're using an iPhone. The interior of the Volvo EX90 is very quiet because you have double glazed windows all around. So that really helps to isolate you from the noise around outside your vehicle. And what's even better is Bowers & Wilkins 25 speaker 1610 watt sound system. Honestly, this is the best sound system I've ever experienced in a car. And you even have speakers on the headrest, as you can see over here. And Volvo is so proud of the sound system, it even comes with the Bowers & Wilkins app, which comes with sample sound to show off the audio capabilities of the speakers. Even at maximum volume, the sound doesn't crack at all. It's so good. And when you can immerse yourself in the music, you can actually hear the separation of every single instrument. This, by far, is the best sound system I've ever experienced in a car. Yeah, I said it before, gotta say it twice because it's really that good. And the settings of this car is very similar to EX30. You have this very simplified view. So these are the quick controls. And you want to adjust the lights. Unfortunately, there's no physical controls. You need to use the buttons on the screen. So this can be distracting if you want to change the lights while driving. So while you're driving, you want to change lights, you need to go to press this button, you need to press the lights, and then find out which side to press. Okay, on headlights, this is how I press it. And if you want to adjust the suspension, you also need to do the same thing. You need to go to settings again. You need to go to driving dynamics, view all, and then change it over here. Yeah, this is not safe at all. So ideally, you should do your settings before start driving. But I feel that this could be executed better, maybe with some shortcuts or some physical buttons to make the adjustments. And another thing that's lacking is real-time efficiency figures. Typically, when you drive an EV, you want to know how efficient you drive, and you want to see the efficiency figures on the screen. But you don't get it here. To see how efficient you drive, you need to go to this app, Range and Trip. And here's how you can view your current live consumption. And you want to see the overall efficiency of the trip, or since reset or since recharge, you need to go to trip formation to view this page. and review this page, you don't see your maps. This doesn't make sense. Why not put the efficiency reading on the instrument cluster itself? I think everyone wants to know about that, right? And another feature I love about EX30 is they can view the historical trips from the app itself. It's similar to the BMW. So every single trip you had, you have this itemized listing of the journey, when you start, what's the state of charge, how much energy you use, what's your average speed, when you start, when you end, the efficiency figures, but you don't get it here. And turns out that it's available on the screen, driving journal. But when you tap on it, it says driving journals not supported. Please make sure you have the latest software version. If problem persists, it means that the app isn't currently supported in the country or region your vehicle is registered in. Looks like this EX90 is not a finished product yet. Seems that the EX30 is a more complete product compared to the EX90. And another feature is missing is park assist. So you set to reverse, there's no park assist button. We went looking around it and turns out that park assist will be available as a software update later on. Come on, this is 100,000 ringgit car, guys. Why not have these things ready before you launch? And check out this tire pressure monitoring system. Instead of showing the individual pressure numbers, it just says OK. What do you mean OK? There are a couple of ways you can access your Volvo and to start the vehicle. You have this key card, which you need to tap on the handle and leave the card over here. Or the best way is using this key tag. So this is smaller than the EX30 and there's no buttons over here. So with this in your pocket, you just walk near to the car, it will unlock the car, and then you can just start driving off. And this key tag needs to be charged regularly. So it doesn't have the coin cell battery, it's smaller, it has its own integrated battery, and you need to charge it on a wireless charging pad, like this. And you can see, it's charging. I only driven this car for a few days, so I'm not sure what's the battery life of this thing if you don't charge this regularly. But at least now you know that you can charge it on the wireless charging pad. And also I want to share another tip. So in my trip to Kota Bharu, at one point I lose internet connectivity. I think it's still struggling to find the new towers as I head through different sections of Kota Bharu. My phone has line, but this one doesn't have any line, so I can't get any music streaming. So if you want to restart the entire system, which you can do while driving, is by pressing and holding this button for 30 seconds. It's absolutely safe to do so. So I was doing this while driving because I couldn't get any signal, I'm not getting any maps, I'm not getting any music streaming anymore because it's been disconnected. And if you press and hold this button for 30 seconds, it will reboot the entire system. But not to worry, the car functions work just fine. The screen just black out for maybe 10-15 seconds and it will reload the system and you should be able to regain back your internet connection. There you go, if you're starting. So don't panic, it will come back. You can do this while driving. Instrument cluster's back. Now waiting for this Android Automotive to boot up. So now you know what to do if you lose your mobile connectivity. The Volvo EX90 comes equipped with a 111 kWh battery with a rated range of 625 km on a single charge. Yes, that sounds impressive on paper, but in reality, you're gonna get much less than that depending on your driving conditions. So I drove this car on a weekend on Saturday from KL to Bukit Mentajam, went around Subrajaya, and I went to Georgetown, went around Island, and I did about efficiency of 23 kWh per 100 km. Yeah, it's actually quite high, not surprising for a car that weighs 2.8 tons with twin motors. And I got from 97% to 11% with 385 kilometers of range. So realistically, if you're going to drive this spiritedly on a highway, you should be looking about 400 kilometers of range on a single charge, which is actually more than enough to get from KL to Penang or KL to JB, not a problem. If you drive more sensibly, you should be looking at about 450 to 500 kilometers of range and maybe efficiency about 20 kWh per 100 km. So that's the more realistic figures. But if you want to achieve 600 kilometers of range on a single charge, I think that's more achievable if you mostly drive around town, like dropping your kids to the school, going to the shops. So the lowest I've done is about 16 kWh per 100 km. So if you're going to do those short trips to the shops, well, that's possible to get 600 kilometers of range. But I think to be safe, on long distance trip, this estimate you're going to do for about 400 to 450. That's more realistic in my opinion. The Volvo EX90 supports AC up to 11 kilowatts 3-phase, which I think should have been 22 kilowatts. Is a premium product after all. Why not give 22? And for DC charging, it supports up to 250 kilowatts and it claims to do 10 to 80% in about half an hour. But throughout my experience, the max I got was 157 kilowatts. And that's when I'm plugged into a 400 kilowatt DC charger at Berjaya Times Square. When I check the cam power stats, I'm getting about 400 volts and 400 amps. So in theory, that's the maximum is 160 kilowatts. So if you want to get 250 kilowatts, I think you need to find very specialized chargers. Chargers that can do at least 600 amps and has a water-cooled nozzle. So far, I think the only places that can support that is probably DC Handal's charger at WCE, Taiping Selatan, as well as Charge EV's new 1 megawatt charger at JPO. So realistically speaking, if you're going to charge at the common 180 kilowatt chargers, you could be looking at about 40 minutes to charge from 10 to 80%. It's not bad, just that it's a bit disappointing that you can't get 250 kilowatt most of the time. So hopefully this will change when we get more powerful chargers in the country. So I've driven the Volvo EX90 during the Hari Raya Haji weekend, which is quite a peak season, and I must say that this EX90 is such a joy to drive. In city driving with this A suspension is very comfortable, and if you're going for high speeds at twisty roads like going to Gua Musang, you can just turn on the firm suspension and this really handles very well. It's definitely more fun to drive than MPVs. And of course, from the spec figures, you can tell that this is a very powerful SUV, 910 Nm of torque, which is insane. But what I like is that the power delivery, it feels very natural, it feels very gradual. When you step on the accelerator pedal, it just gives you the power in very linear way. So you don't feel that sudden jolt, and your passengers will thank you for it because it's more comfortable to ride this way. Being a flagship model, you get a big display and also an instrument cluster as well as a head-up display. And these two were missing on the cheaper Volvo EX30. While I do appreciate an instrument cluster, I feel that a lot of vital information is lacking. For instance, on the head-up display, it only shows you the speed and also the next turning for your navigation. And on the instrument cluster, there's only 3 views. The simplified view that shows you the speed, you can show Google Maps, that's the only thing supported, only Google Maps, no Waze, and only if it runs natively on the infotainment display. And also the third view is this kind of like Tesla vision kind of thing, so you can see your car and other virtual cars surrounding around you on the screen. And that's pretty much it. And as an EV driver, you want to know how efficient you drive. Are you doing 20 kilowatt hour per 100 km or 30 kilowatt hour per 100 km? You don't get that. You don't get any efficiency figures on the instrument cluster at all. To do that, you need to dig through the screen, and that's very distracting. The only thing that can tell you about efficiency figures is that one green bar on the right that shows whether you're using more power or your Regen, and there's no context, there's no legend, there's no marker that says that, okay, are you using 10 kilowatt hour or are you using 30 kilowatt hour? Nope, none of that. And that's quite a missed opportunity. Hopefully Volvo listens to this feedback and add the efficiency figures on the instrument cluster. Volvo, please work on that. And another thing about this car is that, you know, I've driven across highways and also country roads and trunk roads, and I noticed that the AEB, I'm not too sure whether it's working or not, because when I drive very close, because for me, my habit is to drive very close to the car in front. Yeah, I know it's not good practice, but normally on the EX30 or other cars, right, it will warn me that I'm driving too close. You see like a red flashing icon saying that keep your distance. I don't get it here on the EX90. I should be warned not to drive so close, but I didn't get any of it. And there's one time I tried to test it out, so the car in front is stopping, so I tried to delay my braking. Nope, no warning whatsoever. So it makes me question whether the AEB capability is really working. And also the blind spot monitoring. Yes, it does flash, but somehow I feel like it's not consistent. This one time I was trying to make a turn, I didn't get any audible alerts at all, which is weird. So to sum up, I think there's a lot of work needs to be done by Volvo in terms of the ADAS system. I think they should be able to fix it through a software update. But as of now, I feel safer driving in the EX30 than this car. Somehow the EX30's ADAS feels more complete, and that's pretty strange. And for a car this large, I wish it had blind spot view camera monitoring, because if you look at the side mirrors, you can see there's this camera angled towards your blind spot corners. And I feel that these cameras can be used to see what's going on your blind spot when you indicate left or right, similar to Honda Lane Watch, Hyundai Kia, and even Tesla. So that will make driving in a city more pleasant because you know what's happening around your surroundings. So hardware is there, hopefully Volvo can enable it via software. And Volvo tried to make things very simplified here in the EX90, quite similar to EX30. So when you enable pilot assist, which is basically cruise control, you only have two settings here, with steering assistance or not. And there's no option to adjust the distance control. But I must say that Volvo manages the distance very well. When you're driving at highway speeds, like I'm doing right now, 100 km per hour, you can actually see that they leave a very reasonable gap in between the cars. But in slow traffic, it will automatically close the gap. So I have no issues with this implementation. So I think Volvo has done a very good job with this pilot assist. It's spot on. So the only thing you need to control is just the speed from the steering wheel control buttons. Then you can do it in increments of 5s, or you want to be more granular, you can just press and hold to drop it by 1 km per hour increments. Pretty straightforward and easy to use. And about Regen, by default, there's only normal option. So this car likes to coast a lot, which I think is a good thing. So by default, there's only coasting. If you want more Regen, you have two options. You have one pedal driving and also one pedal auto, which is quite interesting. So with one pedal auto, by default, if there's no cars, it will let you coast as much as possible, which is the mode I like. But if it detects a car in front of you, then it starts to apply Regen, and it can actually come to complete stop. When I used this for the first time, I was a bit worried whether it really stop on time or not, because the Regen isn't that strong as compared to other cars, but it does the job pretty well. You just need to learn how to trust it. But of course, always be ready to step on the brakes in case it doesn't brake on time. And being an SUV, this is definitely more fun than driving an MPV. It feels more planted, it feels more sorted. If you want a 7-seater that's fun to drive, I would say this is it. Here are my final thoughts of the Volvo EX90. I really love driving this car. It's so fun to drive around twisty roads with confidence, and I love the seats, I love the sound system, and I like the performance it delivers on tap. It feels so natural and progressive. But there are a couple of setbacks and missed opportunities. I felt that Volvo should pay more attention in terms of the storage space, because the Globus is too small. I wish it's big enough to put a laptop. I mean, look at the size of this car, right? There should be more storage compartments compared to other EVs in the market. And the center console area, I wish there's more space to put like a second phone, a smart tag, and maybe a couple of cards like your touch and go card, your tickets, but you don't really get much here. And for the rear space, it'd be nice to have a fridge, because I think that's what families want, right? Something to keep your food cold for long journeys, and that would be awesome for family road trips. There's some things that's only coming through a software update. For example, the park assist. The hardware is here, but you're only coming in the software update later on. And also the driving journal, the ability to view every single EV trip, including the battery state of charge, efficiency, average speed. That's not available yet, and it's pending a software update. And of course, for the ADAS itself, this is supposed to be the safest Volvo ever built. But somehow feel more safer driving EX30, because certain functions, I think they don't have much options for alerts. Like for example, if you drive too close to a car, it doesn't pre-warn you, it only warns you very late. I wish that Volvo will tune this up so that drivers will feel more confident that the car is looking out for them. And of course, the LiDAR, that's the masterpiece right here. The hardware is here, but it's not functioning actively just yet. And that's also coming through a software update. How soon will it be available? We do not know. So there's something that's still up in the air. And for a flagship product, I still cannot fathom the cost-cutting measures, like the lack of backlit buttons for the steering wheel, only 2 switches for power windows on the driver's seat, no sunshade for the roof, and also no privacy shade for the passenger doors. That's quite weird, and you can find this standard on other contenders which are cheaper. And with a price tag of 442,888 ringgit, it faced very stiff competition from other MPVs like the Zeekr 999, the Denza D9, also Xpeng X9. Those are spacious, and in fact they are actually more comfortable to ferry 6 to 7 passengers. And those are also very well equipped. You also get fridge as standard for these vehicles, and you don't get it here on the Volvo EX90. If you're looking at a 7-seater SUV, without a doubt, this wins hands down. Is better than the Mercedes-Benz EQS SUV. That has a lot of compromises, and this is definitely better built, and it looks much fresher as well. But there's another strong contender though, the Kia EV9. That costs about 100,000 ringgit less than this, and that car looks more futuristic. It has more practical storage compartments, it has captain seats, and you also got physical controls, something that I really want as a driver. And on top of that, the Kia EV9 comes with the 800-volt architecture that supports faster DC fast charging. You can get from 10 to 80% in just 20 minutes. So in terms of charging, in terms of compartment, in terms of practicality, that's still better than this car, and it costs less than the EX90. So going back to the EX90, there are a couple of standout features that I like, and one of it is the driving experience. It's the same situation as the Volvo EX30. It drives well, but it's just outpriced by other competitive alternatives in the market out there. So what do you guys think about the Volvo EX90? Will you get this or other contenders in the market, or would you get a Volvo XC90, the hybrid version? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up, like us on Facebook, and don't forget to subscribe us on your YouTube channel and hit the notification bell icon so that you'll be informed of our future videos. This is Alex. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next one. Bye!